Hi esteemed logicians. Welcome to the Logical Christ channel. In this video, we will undertake a logical examination on the oaths of Allah to the moon in the Quran. Sit back and relax, we will be back after this short intro.
For us Muslims, we don't use our logic.
The thesis. Swearing, at its core, is an act of solemn affirmation, lending weight and credibility to a statement or promise. Logically, for an oath to hold true significance and enforce accountability, it must be directed towards a higher authority or entity that transcends the swearer's own power and control. Swearing by a lesser entity diminishes the oath's binding nature, as the swearer could potentially manipulate or disregard that entity. Therefore, an oath's strength derives from the perceived ultimate power and knowledge of the entity invoked, ensuring a moral or spiritual consequence beyond mere human judgment. The assertion. A core principle of divine omnipotence is that the Creator is greater than His creation. Oaths are typically used by humans to invoke a higher authority or a powerful entity to affirm the truth of a statement. It shows a logical contradiction if the highest authority, Allah, swears by a lesser entity, the moon. As the absolute divine supremacy, the Creator would not need to use a creation as a witness or a point of emphasis, otherwise Allah didn't want to put weight on His own words. Evidently, Islamic scholars say there are about 30 chapters in the Quran that begin with an oath. Multiple times did Allah make an oath towards His own creation. In contrast, Hebrews 6:13 explains the absolute certainty of the God of the Bible. When God made a promise to Abraham, He confirmed it with an oath. Since there is no higher authority than God, He swore by Himself. Here's a Muslim suggested that taking an oath not by Allah, it is a sin.
The punishment for the person who is not satisfied by an oath made by Allah's name. And that means that if a person does not take the name of Allah, but rather he takes other the name of Allah, he has fallen into a sin, and he can fall into a shirk if he believes that which he is swearing by has equal right like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has when swearing by His name.
The argumentation. In Quran 74:32, after asserting His sovereignty, Allah takes an oath by the moon, which serves as a reminder to humanity. The verse states, "Nay, I swear by the moon." Then, in Quran 84:16-18, Allah swears by the moon against those who disbelieve in Him. The passage states, "I swear by the twilight, and by the night, and what it covers, and by the moon, as it grows full." Similarly, in Quran 91 and 91 1-2, Allah swears by the land, the sun, and the moon, among other creations. It states, "I swear by this land, by the sun and its radiance, and the moon as it follows it." Even Prophet Muhammad acknowledged the significance of the moon, likening it to how people will see Allah on the day of resurrection. Sahih al-Bukhari 74:36 states, "Allah's messenger came out to us on the night of the full moon and said, 'You will see your Lord on the day of resurrection as you see this full moon, and you will have no difficulty in seeing Him.'" Here's an examination of Christian prints on the significance of the moon in the Quran.
You see, this is the first chapter in the Quran. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Let us zoom in so all of you notice what happened in this verse. Do you see here this letter disappear? Here you will notice here there's a letter in the front of this Allah, but here there's one letter is gone. Do you notice that, guys? Do you see it? This letter is here. Now remember, this is a name. If it's a name, we cannot take letters out of it. The name will stay as it is. Doesn't matter where you place it, doesn't matter where you change it. That's it. The name is a name. You put the name of Christ here, it is going to be Christ there. Doesn't matter what is before it, doesn't matter what is after it. But the only reason for the name to change, because simply this is not the name. It is not from the name. It's not part of the name. Simply this one, this is supposedly Allah, and this is the additional one, You see in the screen. Now, do you notice the difference between them? This is exactly the difference between verse number 1 and verse number 2. One have a letter Aleph, which is A, equal to A, before it, and one does not have that Aleph before it. Now what happened? Here it says Allah or Allah. Here there's no Allah. Here there's Lillah. So let us make it simple in English. This one is Li Lah. Li Lah. What Li Lah mean? The Arabic is very clear. It says thanks to Allah or thanks to Lah. Li Lah. Not Allah. Li Lah. So the first Li, and anyone who speak Arabic in you, mean two. This one here mean two. Let us type it, or type it here. To Lah. So thanks to who? To Lah. As simple as that. And this idiot who do not know how to read his even his prophet name in Arabic, he want to teach me what the word mean. We are the Arab. We are the one who taught your God how to speak Arabic, but yet he is an idiot. He could not make it. And this is not an Arabic word, by the way. This is a pure Aramaic. To Lah. To Lah. Here, Al-Lah. Al-Lah. Now, if we go to Google and we search, you can do, all of you can do that. You do not need me. Search, you will find that Lah is the moon god. And we are not making things up. Here they are saying that Ya Lah, the other Egyptian moon god. Lah, you know, the moon god have many names. Have Sin, which is more known in the territory of Aramaic speaking people, Europe, and then same word used by the Sabian who spread their religion in Egypt too. So they use it there as Lah, which is the moon god. It's not a secret, and that is the name of their god. Now if we go and we search, we do little search in their Islamic interpretation for the Quran. As an example, if we go and take the tafsir for chapter 36 verse number 1, Ya Sin, look what the Muslim they say to us about the meaning of this verse. Chapter 36 verse number 1. Have you ever heard of an interpretation funny like this? I mean, where is the interpretation? Ya Sin, God knows best what he meant by those letters. Those are not letters. This is Sin, the moon god. Sin is just another moon god name. It's the same god, but different culture, different country. Muslims, they worship nothing but the moon god, not the moon. You know, some idiot, he will say to you, no, the Muslims don't worship the moon. I'm not saying they worship the moon. And the Muslim actually today, they don't claim they worship the moon, but this is the origin of their god name. This is where it's coming from. The Quran even says, don't worship the moon, neither the sun. But all of us, we knew that Muslims are the last one to know what Islam is about, and we can prove it easy that this is the moon god. Everybody knows. You can go and search, you will find that the moon god did marry from the sun god, and he have 3 daughters. Otherwise the Muslims need to explain to us that the daughters of Allah are coming from where? Why the Arab they thought that Allah have 3 daughters? Any Muslim can explain to us why and how Allah had 3 daughters for the Arab for centuries before Muhammad. And you will notice here the proof of what I said in front of you. Do you see where it says Al-Lat, Al-Uzza? Al-Lat, Al is God Lat, Al-Uzza, God Uzza. Al-Lat, Al-Uzza, the goddess Al-Lat, the goddess Al-Uzza. The Manat, which because it is the god of death, it does not come with Al before it. So 3 daughters, they are the daughters of a sexual relationship between the moon god and the sun god. This is why you see Muhammad, he is in a competition. He is in favor of the moon god, he is against the sun god. So if you go and see in the hadith, you will find Muhammad forbidding the Muslims to pray when the sun come, because according to him that the sun come from between the 2 horns of Satan. Why? Because the sun, supposedly the moon god, is in control of Satan. where the appearance of kuffar will come from the east. And what is the east? Is where the sun comes. Let us explain it more. You see here, this hadith is not translated. Look at this. Muslims, they did not translate this hadith, but we will find a different one. Just give me a second. Here it says, don't start your prayer when the sun go up, and not when it set, for it come from between the two horns of Shaitan. Now here we prove two things: that Muhammad is nothing but a liar, and Muhammad is a person who believes in superstitions, and he is really believer that the sun is, you know, there's a God. His name is the sun God, and there is a moon God. He is the moon God. And as you see here, Muhammad take the side of the moon God against the sun God, and the reason for that is very simple. You see, in some areas where it is cold, freezing cold, people, they worship the sun God, because sun God bring mercy for them out of the cold. Those who live in the desert like the Arab, they hated the sun God, for he bring death, no mercy, thirst, their animals die, while the moon is nice. It's giving them light at night in the middle of the darkness of the desert. There's no cloud, there's nothing, there's no rain. So sun is death and moon is life. So for them, always the moon is their favorite and the sun is their enemy. Now I change in a Muslim to tell me why Muhammad is saying that when the sun comes, that Satan, the head of Satan, comes out from the side of the sun. Actually, he did not say from the side of the sun. This is a false translation. It says qarnu shams. The two horn, the horn of the Shaitan, they are the same two horn of the sun. Why Muhammad is saying that? I change any Muslim to tell me why. I mean, the sun is just a star, and what Shaitan have to do with it? Without the sun, we will die. If the sun disappear for a week from this earth, the earth will go in chaos, and if it disappear for a month, all of us will die. So what is the relationship, according to Muhammad, between the sun and Satan? Any Muslim can explain to us? They cannot. Either you have to agree that Muhammad is a superstition person, he says stupid things, or you have to say to me where this is coming from. Read with me this hadith. We visited Anas ibn Malik, etc., and when we had finished the prayer, we mentioned during the prayer early time of or he mentioned that he said that he heard the Messenger of Allah saying, he says, the prayer of the hypocrite, the prayer of the hypocrite, the prayer of the hypocrite, 3 times, he have to repeat 3 times as usual, is that one sit until the sun becomes yellow and is between the horn of Shaitan. Do you see it? So Muslim believe that the time at this time the sun is between the horn of Shaitan. Explain that to us. How the sun is between the two horn of Shaitan? Kuffar, they will come from the east. Kuffar, they, you know, the sun, don't pray in a certain time because it's coming from the Shaitan horn. I mean, what does that mean? Because simply Muhammad, he is an enemy for the sun God, and he took the side of the moon God. He is an Arab. As all the Arab, they take the side of the moon God against the sun God.
The conclusion. The logical conclusion is that an act of swearing by a creation like the moon is incompatible with the principle of absolute divine supremacy. The concept of an oath implies appealing to something of greater authority, and if the Creator is the highest authority, such an act constitutes a logical contradiction. Allah swearing by the moon is considered a logical contradiction. It would either imply a flaw in the divine attribute of absolute supremacy or suggest that the moon held in a position of deified reverence in the context of the Quran's revelation. Here's Sam Shamoon on the implications of Allah swearing by the moon.
Why later Muslims adopted the crescent moon and the 5-pointed star as their symbol? Why did they do it? But why do you find on mosques the crescent moon? Here. Why? What's the explanation? Here, how about this one with the 5-point star? It's even called Crescent Islamic Center. Can you believe it? Explain. Why? How about Islamic flags? No. Yeah, because these are Christian nations, right? Algeria, Azerbaijan, Comoros, Malaysia, the Maldives, Mauritania, Pakistan, Tunisia, Turkey, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan. No. And this here, folks. Ignore the man behind the curtain. Now watch here. Is Allah of pre-Islamic Arabia, of the pagan Arabs, the pagan god, was identified with the moon? Here, let me show you. Let's go to my article. So here, let's go here. Let me read to you Abdullah Yusuf Ali, who translated Quran and provided a commentary. Look what he says about the pagan Arabs and their belief in 7 planetary gods, meaning they counted 7 planets because they counted the sun and moon as planets, and they associated the planets with gods and goddesses. Do you know that's why the pagans would run around the Kaaba 7 times? That's why the pagans would run between the 2 hills, Safa and Marwa, 7 times and throw 7 stones, because they did 7 in honor of their 7 gods and goddesses. And yet to this day, the Muslims, when they go to that pagan shrine, they continue running around the Kaaba 7 times. They continue running between the 2 hills, Safa and Marwa, 7 times and throw 7 stones. But they explain that as, because that's what Ishmael instituted. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. Now let's read. This is a Muslim source. Watch here. But the moving stars or planets, each with a motion and therefore will or influence of its own, as they knew and understood them, they were 7 in number. Oh, pay attention. 7. What 7? 1 and 2, the moon and the sun. So the pagan Arabs were into astral worship as well as fertility cult. And how do we know the moon was associated with Allah? We'll get there. What else? 3 and 4, the 2 inner planets, Mercury and Venus, which are morning and evening stars and never travel far from the sun. 5, 6, and 7, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. So wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. How many times around the Kaaba? 7. Why? They were doing this to honor the planets that they identified with gods and goddesses, for the 7 gods and goddesses. Why are you pagan Muslims doing it to this day? Now watch. It will be noticed that the sun and moon, the 5 planets, got identified each with a living. Did you catch it? We're not saying the moon itself is Allah. We're saying the moon is identified as the planet of Allah. All right, but watch here. You still don't get it? Let's skip down. It may be noted that the moon was a male divinity in ancient India. It was also a male divinity in ancient Semitic religion. And the Arabic word for the moon, qamar, is of the masculine gender. On the other hand, the Arabic word for the sun, the Arabic word shams, is of the feminine gender. The pagan Arabs evidently looked upon the sun as a goddess and the moon as a god. You understand what it means? If Allah is a male deity, will you identify the moon with a goddess or a god? If the Arabic word for moon is masculine noun, are you going to identify the moon with a goddess or a god? Okay, but now let's take it a step further. Since the moon is considered a primary planet, would the pagans associate the moon with a lesser male god or the chief god? The chief, right? Well, hold on. Who is the chief male god of the pagans? Allah. Damn, Gina. Then the moon, whose planet does it belong to? Allah. That's the argument. Let me show you something else. Guess how Allah will appear according to Muhammad? Sahih Bukhari. Nari Jarir. Allah's messenger came out to us on the night of the full moon. Notice full moon, and said, you will see your Lord on the day of his resurrection as you see this, and you'll have no difficulty in seeing him. Why liken the sight of Allah to that of seeing the full moon? Why the moon? Why say, you see how you see this full moon? You see a clear light, so you're going to see Allah clearly. Why again? Why the full moon? This is why you have to let people know. The Islamic religion is paganism. It is steeped in Baal worship, Satanism. That doesn't mean the average Muslim knows this. They don't know this. Now let me share something else with you. Let me share something astonishing that the Bible shows you how accurate the Bible was and will always be, because it's God's word. When Babylon was toppled and conquered, Belshazzar was ruling in Babylon, and then the Persians conquered it. Now, did you know that archaeology confirmed Belshazzar was in Babylon acting as king in place of his father when the Persians destroyed the empire? Why? Because his father, Nabonidus, went to Arabia. For what? To worship the moon. Why in Arabia? Because the Arabs were obsessed with moon worship. There you go. See how accurate your Bible is? Nabonidus was also known for his near fanatical devotion to the moon god Sin. But let's see, Arabia. Nabonidus, the last king of Babylon, made his son Belshazzar regent while he spent years where? In Arabia. Why do you think he went to Arabia? Exactly for us. When does Ramadan begin? When they see what? The crescent moon appear and then reappear either 29 or 30 days later, and then they end their pagan moon fast. No, it has nothing to do with moon worship. Guys, during Ramadan, stock up on croissants. Do you know why? Croissants were actually created to celebrate the destruction of the pagan moon worshippers, Islam. Did you know that? Here. And I learned this from Hamza Yusuf. The croissant's crescent shape is often linked to a legend that was created in Vienna in 1683 to celebrate the Austrian army's victory over the Ottoman Empire, with the crescent symbolizing the moon on the Ottoman flag. Now they're calling it a legend. I actually learned this from Hamza Yusuf. In other words, the croissant was made, baked, and consumed as a sign that the pagan Muslim Turks got consumed and crushed. And other legends say, actually, it was invented in Europe to celebrate the defeat of the Umayyad forces by the Franks at the Battle of Tours in 732, with the shape representing the Islamic crescent. So what does it tell you? That the Europeans were noticing these guys' sick fascination with the moon. Dude, the crescent moon. What's up with you in the crescent, man? Here, let's celebrate your destruction. We're going to make croissants devouring the crescent, because the cross of Jesus devoured you. Right? Oh, you thought that was bad? Let's finish it. The true God only swears by himself. Remember, Allah of the Quran is supposed to be the God of the Bible, right? Well, if he's the God of the Bible, then the God of the Bible does not swear by anything. He only swears by himself. For when God made a promise to Abraham, because he could not swear by no one greater, he swore by himself. God only swears by himself. But now watch Allah. You ready? Nay, by the moon. Remember, the Quran is Allah's speech, right? So Allah swears by the moon. Again, 84:18. And by the moon, when it is at the full. Again, chapter 91, verse 1 and 2. And by the sun and its brightness, and by the moon as it follows. And not only that, but Allah swears by everything seen and unseen. Why is Allah swearing by the moon? Well, let me show you why. Why is Allah swearing by the very things that the pagans looked as gods and goddesses? Let me show you. When you go, nay, by the moon, here's the note. Internet's going to destroy a lot of these fake religions, but notice internet is confirming the truth of the Bible. Why swear by the moon? An oath in human speech calls in evidence something sacred in the heart of man. In Allah's message, also when delivered in human language, solemn emphasis is indicated by an appeal to something striking among the sons of Allah, which will go straight to the human heart which is addressed. In each case, the symbol of the appeal has reference to the particular point enforced in the argument. Here we are asked to contemplate three wonderful phenomena, and they lead to the same conclusion in verse 38. The moon, next after the sun, is the most striking luminary to our sight. Its reflected light has for us even a greater mystery than the direct light of the sun, which looks to us like pure fire. The moon was worshipped as a deity in times of darkness. So who has to explain why Allah is swearing by the moon or the sun? Or Yusuf Ali, the Muslim, and he explains the reason why Allah would say by the moon, because the moon was something amazing to look at, resulting in the pagan Arabs worshiping it as a god. So why the hell is he swearing by the moon when Allah knows the pagans are used to worshiping these objects as gods and goddesses? How then can you tell me that Allah the Quran is the God of the Bible? Allah the Quran swears by everything, even objects that the pagans worshipped. Yet the true God swears only by himself.
I hope you learned from this video. Comment down below for your thoughts on this logical examination on the oaths of Allah to the moon in the Quran. Until next time.
Thinking with Logical Christ.